Oh, you can see it?
Yeah. Walk, run, skip. No, we're going to do flips with John Bergmann coming up next.
That's right. We've got the great John Bergmann on our show today. John Bergmann is one of the pioneers of the flipped class movement. He's leading the worldwide adoption of flipped learning by working with governments, schools, corporations, and education nonprofits. John is coordinating or guiding flipped learning initiatives around the globe, including China, Taiwan, Korea, Australia, blah, blah, blah. Pretty much every country on the planet, okay? John is the author of 7 books, including the best-selling book, Flip Your Classroom, which has been translated into 10 languages. He is the founder of the Global FlipCon conferences, which are dynamic, engaging events which inspire educators to transform their practice through flipped learning. Wow, welcome to the show, John.
Hey, it's great to be with you guys. You guys are awesome.
Thank you.
We're excited to have you back, and it's been a few years. So catch us up. Where's Flip teaching at right now?
Well, we just launched the Flipped Learning 3.0 initiative with the Flip Learning Global Initiative. We got a group of researchers, master teachers, technologists, professional development organizations, and technology companies to help people understand and support quality flipped learning across the globe.
Awesome.
Very cool. So tell us what that looks like. What is the difference of 3.0 compared to 2.0 and
1.0? Yeah, so this past year, a small dedicated group of us got together to try and figure out where is flipped learning. And I actually found that there are things I didn't know about flipped learning. You think I might know it, but I didn't. And we found sort of 5 key takeaways. The first takeaway is that there's this understanding that flipped learning is static. And we have found that flipped learning is not static. A lot of people think, oh, flipped learning has that thing with the videos. There's that thing where, you're doing the video thing and the homework, that's all day. There's this mentality, but it's not true. We discovered that flipped learning, number 2, if you will, is evolving because of 3 factors. Number 1, research. Number 2, innovation in the classroom. And number 3, technology. And I don't know if you want to ask questions about that. There's still 3 more things to Flipped Learning 3.0, but you want to chat about that?
I think it's cool, John, when you put an idea so big out there and then all of a sudden it gets in people's hands and they start making it their own, mixing it up, remixing it, all those things. So maybe give a couple of examples or talk about what you're seeing as far as remixing of the Flip Learning.
Yeah. So for example, in Flip Learning 1.0, the questions people asking in the research, if you look at the research was asking questions like, does it work? Yeah. What's happening to the class test scores? In Flip Learning 3.0, the research has completely changed. Now it's accepted in the research community that Flip Learning works. Now the question they're asking is, how can we make the flipped videos or the individual space better? What should be the optimal length of the videos if video is the flip? What is the best way to create those? Not necessarily from a technological perspective, but from a pedagogical perspective. And the bigger question, of course, is now what should we do in the class? So if you give a more practical example, we actually hosted a webinar yesterday, and we had 3 flipped master teachers. And the big question is, all right, that's nice, it's special, you made a video. What are you doing in class? One teacher was doing video assessment of with her students. It was amazing. One teacher was doing first-person narrative, so social studies, middle school social studies teacher. And so the students take the role of a Cherokee Indian on the Trail of Tears, and they write a letter to the President of the United States. From the perspective. So they've studied their history, they've learned through Flipped, and now they're taking class time to write these letters to the president as if they are a Cherokee Indian on the Trail of Tears. So a lot of really innovative things happening in the classroom.
Scott, you want to go?
Yeah.
We've got this out.
John, talk about the global impact. I think that's part of what's going on here with Flip Learning, and just to hear Tim list off some of those nations around the world. It reminds me a little bit of Global School Play Day. We were really excited this year to have 51+ nations having kids just play all day, which was epic. But tell us about how that's happening with Flip Learning.
Actually, that's the third part of the Flip Learning 3.0, that it's really emerged as a global movement where there's, I don't have this data, like with numbers, but I could safely say there's hundreds of thousands of teachers flipping their classrooms across the world. Some hotspots in Iceland, 20 to 25% of all teachers are flipping their classrooms. Probably the biggest hotspot. In Spain, I go to FlipCon Spain next week. It's been sponsored by the Ministry of Education for the whole country. In Argentina, they've decided to flip an entire province or state, 300,000 students. It's on a 5-year plan, and they have just started the 5-year plan. In China, there are some schools that are considering, haven't really sort of pulled the trigger on the same kind of an idea. Flip to training in Australia, for example, is becoming recognized by the the government of the educational department or whatever. So we're seeing just this huge uptick on flipped learning across the globe.
And now, is this mainly high school or college, or are we seeing this going on in the lower grades as well?
That's actually a really interesting question. You know, in the United States, it's primarily a secondary phenomenon, middle school and high school. But you go to Asia, and it's primarily a elementary school phenomenon. So I'm not sure I know the reason why, but it's sort of in different pockets of the world. And if you look at higher ed, it really is everywhere in higher ed. There's been a number of books recently that have just come out on flipped in higher ed. One written by, or 2 of them actually written by flipped learning research fellows. Dr. Robert Talbert wrote one that just came out, and then our lead research fellow, Carolyn Kerben from in Istanbul. She actually is in charge of the first flipped university in the world. It's completely flipped in Istanbul, and she's written a book as well. Kind of how they went through the systemic change. Dr. Talbert's more how do you flip an individual university class. So a couple of the tweaks on their books that are coming out. So universities are in droves catching up. There's still a lot of room to grow. One of my big concerns about flipped is a lot of people, again, they just think it's this static thing, this thing with the videos. They sign a video, they think that's flipped. It's not. So one of the outputs of our Flipped Learning Global Initiative is that we've developed a flipped learning certification program. It's an online class that people can take 7 to 10 hours. All we have actually finished is level 1. We've got plans for additional levels in the coming months. So yeah, so that's one of the big concerns, is to make sure people do it with fidelity.
Very cool.
So John, tell us, okay, so here's a teacher that hasn't taken that step into flipped learning. What's one step they can take, and maybe one thing to make sure they avoid at all costs, no matter what? If their life's at stake, don't do this. Get my point?
Well, in the certification program, we actually talk about the 12 sort of deadly mistakes of flipped learning. If you want just one, the most deadly thing you could ever do, I would say, is if you lecture, if the students don't watch. Because the big question is, what if they don't watch the video before class? But if you just choose to lecture, you've told every kid who watched it they didn't need to, and every kid who didn't, they didn't have to. So never, ever, ever do that. There's other, like, don't, number 2, if you will, is don't make super long videos. Number 3, you got to teach your students how to watch the videos, et cetera, et cetera. So those are some things.
That video length, what have you found is the optimal length for a video, and is it different lengths for different age kids?
Exactly, yeah. So we like to just say, like, a minute for the age of the student, max. Get a 5-year-old, 5 minutes, 10-year-old, 10 minutes, never over 12 minutes probably for anything. Even if they're university students, maybe 15, whatever. But you just kind of keep it short, one topic per video. That's actually my recommendation. There are some ongoing research projects that are starting to ask that question on a more, academic perspective. But that's my general rule of thumb.
No, I think that's something that we see not only through flipped learning, but like also as important just when you're in class. So much research talks about attention span, yet it seems to often be ignored.
Yeah. I don't know if you see these stats, but Dr. Marzano, Robert Marzano did a study in 2014 with 2 million classrooms, and basically said that 2 million classrooms, he asked the question, what's being done in class? 58% of class time, guess what? Lecture in the United States. K-12. So, I mean, it's just reality. Deal with it. So what are we going to do? How are we going to change that? And flipped learning actually completely changes that paradigm.
So if I'm a high school teacher and I'm teaching, say, social studies, history or something like that, what should I actually put in my videos? It shouldn't be just me standing there talking to the camera, right?
Well, there's 4 ways you can make a video, by the way. I mean, if you get to the tech piece, you can make a video with a screencast. So I think of your PowerPoint with your voiceover, maybe a little webcam. Some people are taking a video of somebody standing at the board, solving problems, particularly some things where they need, like, drawing or whatever. Some people are using webcam, and then some people are using a cool tool called a lightboard, Google what a light board is. It's kind of hard to describe, where you're behind this glass and you're drawing on the glass and they can see. It's really awesome. Super easy to build one. I built one in my basement for like $300. So, but what do you, as a social studies teacher, what do you put in the video? Frankly, think of Bloom's taxonomy, guys, when you're hearing this. Bloom's taxonomy, if you recall, knowledge at the bottom, and then understanding, application, analysis, synthesis, creation. What you put on the video is the easy stuff, the knowledge and the understanding. And what you do in class is application, analysis, synthesis, and creation. So what do you put on the videos? You put the easy stuff. So in a history class, it's here's what happened in history. We're going to deal in class with why it happened, or we're going to do a project and explain. We're going to write first person narrative, like this teacher who was on this deal yesterday, who said, yeah, this is what we're going to do. We're going to write about the Trail of Tears, and I'm going to be able to watch you do this. For an English teacher, maybe you can do a flip video on the Diary of Anne Frank, but not actually, like the background, the backstory, what's going on historically in that context. And then in class, you're going to maybe have a conversation about what it would be like to be somebody living in Holland during the Nazi occupation, et cetera, and have conversations about anti-Semitism, et cetera, et cetera.
Now, I remember, I'll never forget seeing one of your very first flip videos, I think. And you were on a bike, if I remember correctly. Am I right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you were like, it was a science thing, and you were out showing something on your bike, and I just thought, okay, this is really cool. Now, how many teachers are doing that kind of stuff? Because I was doing flip learning for a while with math, and I created like hundreds of videos. It was never me like doing anything that engaging. I wasn't out in nature or something making it this awesome video. I mean, are teachers making that kind of stuff? And if so, have you seen some really creative ideas besides, and maybe you could remind me of what that video was about too, because it's probably been 4 or 5 years.
So in that video, I was riding my bike up to the top of, I know it's crazy, I do like long distance races and stuff like that on bikes and triathlons. And I was riding my bike from a low altitude to a high altitude, and I was testing what happens to water when you go from low altitude to high altitude. It boils at a lower temperature at a higher altitude. Science teachers, you would know this. And so I just brought along my little stove on my backpack and drove up to the top of the mountain, or rode up to the top of the mountain. And we did a little study up there. So that was the point, but I was, it was a lesson on boiling points and elevation is what the point was. So I was, I knew it was going to be a lesson, and I happened to be riding the bike anyways. I said, what the heck, I'm going to take it with me. But I edited it, so I did a little editing. This is a little bit more extra work. But, I used a video editing program, and I just spliced into my screencast. I said, and by the way, now we're going to go on, live to John. He wasn't really live, but to John, or Mr. Bergmann, riding his bike on the mountain. But we kind of planned for it. I'd already done it, so it was recorded, a month ahead of time. But I had the footage.
And that seems super engaging. I mean, that's seeing your teacher out there doing something, that you wouldn't get to see in the classroom. Like there's a really cool level of engagement in something like that.
But Mr. Bergmann, like the Bill Nye guy, right? Or another time, my son and I, one summer break, went to Peru, and so I stood, right at I don't know if you're science people, but at the Nazca Plate where it meets the South American Plate, and that's where you have a subduction zone. So I'm standing on location in Peru where all this stuff is actually happening, and doing a little geology lesson. And then I spliced it in, when it was appropriate in my content, like months later. Then.
Very cool.
It's a great idea.
Hey, John, on science, let's stick there, because I think this is important for Tim and I, both elementary teachers. What's something that we can do better to prepare our students for the next levels of science and deeper understanding and learning in science?
From the elementary perspective?
Yeah, from the elementary perspective, because it's always something we're looking to do to improve how we're doing things, and we don't always get to have these conversations with cross grade level, right? So,
yeah. Well, I love I'm not if I can quite quote it, but Mrs. Frizzle, you guys know the Magic School Bus from years ago. She said, get messy, make mistakes, et cetera, et cetera. I forget. She had a really kind of a cool set of quotes. I don't remember it now, but I could do it off the top of my head. But anyways, I think that's the key. Have them do science. I still think there's a place where you need to teach them science. See, a lot of people think we should have completely student-centered education where kids kind of learn on their own. But I don't believe in that. I mean, I do and I don't. I think what we need is a mix. You guys are experts, right? You know stuff. The kids don't. There's a place for direct instruction. I just believe that place should be in the individual space, not in the group space. And so the students can learn this lower level content, introduction to the material, let's say the science material that you want to teach. And in class, you're going to do some kind of an engaging activity. I mean, at 5th grade or 4th grade or whatever you're teaching, there's amazing fun experiments. I mean, get out a microscope, or if you don't have even that level of material, you know, grow plants or tadpoles to frogs, or simple experiments with, you know, vinegar and baking soda. I mean, let them get messy, let them play, but directed play. I mean, you know, you can't just, you know, I taught high school chemistry. I can't really let them all play with all the cool chemicals in the back of my office.
Well, you could.
Yeah, I could, yeah, but that might not be the best choice in the world. So, you know, there's directions and more inquiry. I mean, as a science teacher, I'm a huge fan of inquiry, where students are figuring things out on their own. And you need to do more inquiry, more project-based learning. Those are the kinds of things that you can do that are engaging for students.
Yeah, I think one of my biggest concerns, as you know, when I'm teaching science, is that I don't want to ruin their love of science. I don't want them going to high school thinking science is a lecture, taking notes, and taking a test. You know, and just the other day, even I was talking to some of my kids. I'm like, I dare you right now, name one thing that's not science.
Yeah.
And they're like, and they started naming some stuff, and I'm like, nope, that's science, you know. And I kind of explained to them, I'm like, you can't think of anything that's not science, can you? So don't tell me you don't like science. What you don't like is boring science classes, right? So I don't want to zap that love of science before they get to you, and they're afraid to take chemistry. That was me, man. I didn't want to take chemistry or anything like that because I thought it was scary and boring.
Yeah. The one thing I used to always do with my kids, this was an interaction technique. They'd watch their flip videos, and they had to write down one interesting question from their video. And then everybody had to, when they come back to class, ask me that question. And I was able to see, and these were freshmen through seniors in high school, and they would have come back with some amazing questions. And that really helped kind of spur the curiosity piece, because kids, people, I think, are just curious about the natural world. And oftentimes, you know, I taught earth science and astronomy. You know, I'm a chemist teaching earth science and astronomy, and I don't know really that much. And so they'd ask questions like, great question, don't know the answer. Finally got an iPad. I said, let's ask Mr. Google, because he's asking some, you know, this white dwarf, if I do this, it's like, dude, that's a great question. Let's look it up, you know. So,
John, I mean, I don't know if you have research or data on this, but how much student activity goes on after they maybe see a flip lesson at home, and then they're going out seeking out more information on that content than what you're providing in that short little lecture? I mean, I don't know how you track that necessarily, but it'd be interesting to find out how much is that the gateway to more learning?
That's a beautiful question. I have never asked that question and never heard anybody else ask that question. Now I have to ask my research fellow.
All right, there we go.
Crazy smart people who have PhDs and are like way smarter than I am. That's the kind of question I'm going to ask them, because I'll bet they're going to go, oh, dude, man, how do I meeasure that? That's what they do, right? So That's awesome.
Cool.
Another thing I want to say about learning that I think we need to pay attention to, God. I'll finish. About flip learning is that one of the big findings is that flip learning is becoming this meta strategy that supersedes others. Meaning, flip learning is a starting point. It's a base. It's a foundation. And another metaphor that we're seeing people use, actually from one of our research fellows, Dr. Talbert, he said, I like to think of flip learning as the operating system of a computer or of a phone or whatever. And then the apps or the programs are the things that we plug in, like project-based learning, inquiry learning, cooperative learning, learning by doing, all these things. You need this as the foundation. As you make it the foundation, it gives you the time to do the other things that we want in education.
Which is always the battle, right? Finding that time.
Yeah.
Okay, so what you're listening to right now, I'm going to tell you, and then I'm not going to talk. This whole part's going to be cut out of the actual thing. What you're hearing right now is the theme song from the Flipper TV show.
So we're going to have to explain that to the audience, Tim, because, you know, old guys like us know that show, but some of the younger audience members might not know that.
Okay, so as you're, just pretend like you're hearing the song and kind of laugh at it, maybe sing along with it or something.
They call him Flipper, Flipper, faster than lightning.
All right, so we are going to play a little game with you now, John, that we're calling They Call Him Flipper. Because I don't know if you've ever been called Flipper before, but you are the chief Flipper. So, Scott, why don't you tell us, our audience, who Jonathan's going to be playing for today?
John, you'll be competing for Allie Rogers, a 4th grade teacher, and I think she's in Colorado. If you're able to answer 2 out of 3 questions, yes, that's a 66%. Allie will be awarded a free download of a ridiculously popular edgy rock band, Rockin' the Standards.
All right.
Awesome. Allie, I'm going to do this for you, man. Allie, I hope I do at least.
So have you watched Flipper? Did you used to watch that when you were a kid?
Yeah, no, I didn't. I grew up a lot of my time overseas. My dad was in the Air Force, and I have these like gaps where everybody else watched all the shows, but I was in Japan with my family, and they didn't have TV hardly there. So I have these gaps that talks about these shows when they're kids, and it's like, yeah, I wasn't around. I missed that.
Well, basically the show is this. There's a dad who's a widower, and he's got 2 like teenage type sons, and they have this pet dolphin, and they show basically the whole every show is like this. Bad guy does something, Flipper then does this little barking thing, and they go, "Hey, Flipper's trying to tell us something," and then he leads them.
Have
to
you seen Lassie? It's like Lassie with a dolphin.
Lassie. If you ever see Lassie
with a dolphin, all right, I'm in.
Lassie with a dolphin, yeah.
That's how they pitched it at the studio.
So, and it was always like the same clip of Flipper, you know, just like they would just clip that in there with them talking to the dolphin. Anyway, so really bad TV show, but the theme song was awesome. I love the theme song.
Unforgettable.
All right, here we go with question number 1. You know nothing about Flipper, but that's okay. You can still guess at our questions. Dolphins are very smart animals, as we all know. Flipper, who was actually played by 3 different dolphins, was so smart that the trainer, Rick O'Barry, said that on a few occasions he
ran an extension cord down to the Miami Sea Aquarium so that the dolphins who acted in the Flipper TV show could see themselves when the shows they acted it screened on air. He said that they were very self-aware.
All right, so that's choice A. Here's B.
Held Jeopardy-style competitions between the 3 dolphins who played Flipper. O'Barry claims that he would ask the dolphins questions about the stars of the TV show and award fish to the dolphin who could respond at the right time to his question.
Or is it C?
Had to keep cameras away from the dolphins for periods of time because their fame would go to their heads, and these 3 dolphins would refuse to do any of the stunts.
Okay, so one of them, believe it or not, is correct.
I think it's got to be A, the extension cord. I think, they were that smart. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. You got it right.
Woo!
Okay, so yeah, these dolphins were actually watching their own TV show. All righty.
Cool.
So you got 1 right here. Let's go on to number 2. Now, did you watch any of the old shows like from the 60s and 70s?
Maybe.
Okay. We're going to find out right now.
Speed Racer was this Japanese show because it was.
Speed Racer was awesome.
Yeah. My parents wouldn't let me watch that one. But that was good, Mom and Dad. I'm glad you did that.
I got to watch it, Tim. I don't know what the problem with you was.
Oh, they loosened up by the time they got to you, I think. Okay. Which actor had a small role on the Flipper TV series? Is it A?
Dick York, who later played Darren on Bewitched, played a bad guy in a few episodes.
Or is it B?
Barbara Feldon, who later played Agent 99 on Get Smart. She played a secretary on the show.
Or is it C?
Pat Buttram, who later played Mr. Haney in Green Acres, played a dockhand at the harbor.
So you've got 3 choices.
It's gonna be just a stab in the dark. I'm gonna go with the bewitched person. Whoever was the bewitched.
Dick York. No, sorry. Did you ever see that show, Bewitched?
I did.
Yeah. Remember, there were 2 Darrens in the show.
Okay. Well, I wouldn't know which one was. Oh yeah, that's right. I do.
Yeah, and I think the other one was like Dick Sargent or something. They both had the real same first name in real life. Yes,
Yeah.
it was Barbara Feldon who later played Agent 99 on one of my all-time favorite shows, Get
Good
Smart.
show.
Did you ever watch Get Smart?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, that was good. That was good.
That was the first smartphone. The first smartphone was in that, right?
The shoe. He was a phone. All righty. Question number 3. You got one last chance here. Luke.
Hey, all right.
All right, here we go, John. Luke Halpin, who played Sandy Ricks in Flipper, did all his own stunts throughout the Flipper TV series. One of his most dangerous stunts was which of the following? Is it A?
In a 300 feet below show in Series 1, he made a 20-foot dive from a helicopter into the ocean.
Or is it B?
In the Firing Line 2 show in Series 3, he dodged stunt explosive designed to look like the bottom of a boat was being exploded.
Or is it C?
In the Shark Hunt show in Series 2, he wrestled large, nasty sharks.
I have no idea, so I'm going to say A.
Are you sure?
No, I don't know. Maybe not.
You want to phone a friend on that one?
Yeah, let me call.
I'm sure you'll see. I'm sure you'll.
Yeah, I wonder if it's C. You know,
the wrestling.
Change my mind. Yeah, the scary shark one, maybe. I don't know.
Glad you took that second guess. Okay, that's right. Those other were real stunts from the show, but they were not done by Luke Halpin. He actually wrestled with large, nasty sharks. I can't imagine anybody in a TV show doing that today.
I haven't heard of that variety of sharks either.
Swim with a dolphin, but not a shark.
Yeah, no. All right, Scott, how did John do today?
Good job, John. You got 2 out of 3 correct, but that's good enough to be a winner.
Woo!
Congratulations, John. You won absolutely nothing. But Allie, she just won a free download from Rockin' the Standards, the Edu-Roxation for 2nd through 6th grade teachers and their students, really.
Awesome.
All right.
Awesome.
Thanks for being a good sport with us, John, and answering questions on a show you've never seen. And can you tell our audience how they can connect after they watch or listen to our show? Where can they follow up and learn more about Flip Learning and connect with you and perhaps go to a FlipCon or something like that?
I just encourage you to go to the new website. It's FL, like Flip Learning, flglobal.org. You get lots of information there, contact, certification, training with a community of about 30,000 people. Join the community and start having a conversation inside. So that's flglobal.org.
FL Global. And if you're not going to mention it, I'm going to tell them you also have a podcast. They can find that on iTunes on Flip Learning. And you're on Twitter as well, right? What's your Twitter handle?
That John Bergmann, Jon. So John with no H and Bergmann with 2 N's.
Yes. That's
by the way, the radio show is also available on flglobal.org. So there's a tab there, so it's easy to find.
Great. That's Bergmann. Excellent. And Scott, what do you got for us?
Hey, Global School Play Day, first Wednesday in February, but you could have it every Wednesday, right, Tim? It's all about giving kids unstructured playtime so they can use that imagination, so they can discover, build empathy. There's so many benefits to that lead into all the things we've been talking about in the show today, science and all that. So check out Global School Play Day. Last year, in just the 3rd year of the event, we had over 250,000 students from over 50 nations around the world that were participating. And we hope that you'll sign your kids up this year. We want to get to 500,000, Tim, right?
That's right. We're going for 500,000 this year. And before we sign off, can you, since we're talking flipped learning, Scott, tell everybody how you used flipped learning in your classroom every year and you swear by it.
Oh, if you're not flipping your back to school night, you are absolutely missing out. It is the cell phone, the DVR, whatever. Flipped back to school night's fantastic. We flip all the information. It helps for my parents of second language that don't have English as their first language. They can get translations. We have a big party that night where we get to come, because really, Tim, all the parents want to do is check you out. And it gives us a chance. Well, it's true. They want to talk to you. So it gives us a chance to have those conversations instead of do the dog and pony, because they would never remember anything we said anyways in that short of amount of time talking to them about all that we do in the year. So we bring in food trucks, believe it or not, Tim. We have a whole big event now. It changes the way the relationships happen, and it leads to so much better conversation throughout the year with parents and community.
So you do it school-wide now.
It's happening school-wide at a lot of schools out there, Tim. Flip back to school night is epic.
That's one of the many ideas that I've stolen from you. And what I found,
I stole that from John, basically.
and one of the things that I found that's beautiful about that is that when you have a new kid come into your class and the parents couldn't come to back to school night, you just send them to the videos.
That's right.
That's how your classroom runs. So great idea. And thanks again for being on the show, John. We'll look forward to talking to you hopefully sooner than 3 years out, huh?
Yeah. Nice talking to you guys.
All right, thanks. And thanks for watching.
Mom and Dad.
Mom and Dad. Okay.